Good morning, everybody. So we'll get started today. We're very flexible here at the police department. So Bob Miscali, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, was supposed to present today, and he had a conflict. So Friday, I asked these folks, the Detective Bureau, if they could come in and speak to you about what they do on a daily basis. I think the firearms presentation went really well, and I think today will too. Next month, our school resource officers are going to come in, and they're going to present to you about what they do in the schools every day, which is really nice. A brief update on the PD before we get into today's program. Oh, and Bob Miscali will be here in February. So he'll be here in February. Like I said, next month will be the school resource officers. So little update in the PD. It's been really busy. Town meeting went well. All the initiatives for the police department were passed unanimously, which is nice. So they'll start now designing the new station. It will be at 100 Brick Elm in that area, which isn't a bad thing. It was number 2 site choice. However, we will have access now coming out by Falmouth Lumber onto 28, which is very good. So we're happy about that. And like I said, we'll be back next month. Again, the police department will be presenting. So just a little back history. As now I'm here 2.5 years. When I took over, the Detective Bureau consisted of really 3 detectives and no working supervisor at the time, because our SROs go back out on the road, and we were so short-staffed in the 40s, we had to put detectives on the road for the summer answering calls. So right now the Detective Bureau is 10 strong. We have a detective that's part of the DEA Drug Task Force. As you know, we have definitely a narcotic problem, in Falmouth, and they'll talk about that. But we have a very, very vibrant Detective Bureau. They're going to talk about some of the cases that we're working on. And it's been very busy here. I know when I took over, I want to say there was 5 homicides within 2 years. And we assist the state police, with those types of investigations, on the local level. And they can explain some of those cases. In fact, we just had a conviction recently on one of the homicides. I think, was it last week? Last week. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to, and like I said, there was no working supervisor in the Detective Bureau, and I'm going to have them all introduce themselves to you. But this is Lieutenant Michael Simino, and he's a Detective Division Commander, and he reports to Captain Reed, and then obviously the Deputy Chief and myself. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the DB.
Just got to get used to this mic. Thank you. Again, Lieutenant Mike Simino. I just completed my 27th year with the department. Again, when the chief got to the police department, I was kind of stuck in administrative records land, which wasn't really my cup of tea. And he recognized that, I believe, and had other plans for me, which I was very happy for. So I find myself in the Detective Division, and which is underneath the Special Services Division, which encompasses the detectives, the court officer, the SROs, the domestic violence advocate, the clinicians, and central records, and the drug task force officer. So we have a pretty busy office. On any given day, our major task is following up on all major crimes that happen in the town. A lot of times we're out there as they're still happening. We're on call. One of us is on call all the time, but if something happens, we all respond. Even if we're home, we come in from home. So sometimes we get there while the crime is either still happening or it's very fresh. So again, we follow up, and at any given day, we deal with county law enforcement, other local law enforcement, federal law enforcement, state law enforcement, as our partners on any given day. And so another major task is we are a resource for the patrol officers who often come back to us for either advice on, like, they need a little nudge in a case, or they need us to take it over, and we will have them work in conjunction with us because we're always trying to train that next detective. My eyes, all patrol officers should be thinking like detectives at all times, even on a call that's not that serious. Just be very thorough, and oftentimes you get a real positive outcome. I don't want to keep talking about myself. So I'll just hand it off to Megan. She can introduce herself, and we'll go from there.
My name's Megan Andrade. I have been on the force for a little over 10 years. I was on the road for a little over 9 and in detectives for the last year or so. The majority of the cases that I do are sexual assaults, domestic violence stuff, human trafficking. We kind of do, in detectives, we kind of all hands-on when, things happen, but when certain things come in, they get handed off to certain officers, so that's pretty much what I do.
Can you talk about just human trafficking a little bit, what that entails?
Closer to the mic? Excuse me, Chief?
Can you talk about human trafficking a little bit and what that entails, maybe some of the cases that you've worked on?
Yeah, so human trafficking is actually a lot more prevalent than people realize, and they're cases that take a lot of follow-up, a lot of time. I just recently worked with the state police and their human trafficking task force. Basically, it was, I don't know if anybody's ever seen the show. It's a long time show, like How to Catch a Predator, where these people, they go online and they lure these predators in. And that's basically what we did. We had somebody talking online to these guys that think that they're coming to meet a 15-year-old at a hotel. And it takes a long time to kind of wrap everything up. And we ended up getting one guy. A lot of them say they'll come, and then they get cold feet, and they don't show up. So, but it's definitely a lot more prevalent than people think, especially with like labor. People that use women and kids for labor purposes and whatnot, so.
And we had one case that Detective Andrade and Detective Lowen worked on, he'll introduce himself later, where they were pinging someone's phone. I believe they found a young lady in the back of a van. I think she was 15, 16?
Yeah, she actually is from Chelsea.
Yep. So, I mean, these cases do happen right here in Falmouth. And we were able to basically get her back home, but it's very sad. So anyway.
That's it.
All right, good morning. I'm Detective Thomas McGuire. I've been on the Falmouth Police Department. I'm in my 23rd year. April will be my 24th year. I served in the detective unit some time ago in my career, this is an estimate, but my 5th, 6th, and 7th year in my career. Went back to patrol for some time. And actually, the case we were just speaking about with the girl in the van, I was asked to do a surveillance on a house where we thought the suspect was. That was one of the things that kind of got my juices flowing to get back into the detective unit when the opportunity arose. I put in for it, so I've been assigned to the detective unit again since this past October. I would describe myself as a general detective. I work on pretty much everything except specifically sexual assault type cases. However, I have been asked to assist on those type of cases. Like Megan was explaining, because of the size of our department and what goes on here, we'll often be an all-hands-on type of department where we have to utilize everybody to do all the work that's involved to, fully investigate an incident or some type of investigation that's going on. So, like I said, I've been back assigned since October. I've been really enjoying it. Lieutenant Semino is great to work for, and we have a really good group of people that work in the office. They're very dedicated, and I enjoy it. So a big part of what I've been involved in, Chief Laurie mentioned the new building project. I've been assigned to the building committee internal group that we have at the Falmouth Police Station. So that's taken up quite a bit of time, especially lately because of everything that's been going on with it. So a lot of my time's been spent there, which has been enjoyable. It'll be nice. I'm towards the end of my career. I probably have just maybe a couple or so more years to go, and just want to leave the place a little better than I left it. So, thank you.
I'm Detective Tim Brandt. Ooh, that's loud. It's further away. Been in the department for 10 years. I was on the road for 5, and then I was assigned as a school resource officer for 4. I think it was a little over last year. The chief approached me and said, "How would you like to be a detective full-time?" And I said, "That's great, let's do it." So I've been in there ever since. I usually specialize in sexual assault cases, child exploitation cases. I kind of lead the department with all the ALICE program stuff, which is the active shooter response that we teach to the schools, churches, synagogues, any nonprofit, we can train them. I think that's pretty much it for my experience there. Like they said, we kind of have specialties amongst our detective division, and we have a few general detectives, but we all help each other out. It's probably one of the biggest things that makes us successful is I can grab any one of them and just say, hey, I need some help on this, and they'll look at it with a different set of eyes and say, maybe try this, maybe do this. They'll jump into the interview room with me, kind of ask different questions and see it from a perspective that I haven't seen it from. So it's pretty good. I think that's pretty much it for my experience. I'm working on a few cases now. One's a child sexual exploitation case. It's been going on for like 2 years almost, and I've been issuing subpoena after subpoena to Google and everyone else. I think I have my suspect in a different country, in Australia, so we'll see where it goes from there. So.
And just to add, the first 5 that you see here, they've been assigned to the Detective Bureau, my tenure here. What we also do in the summer, Detective Andrade and Detective Brandt, they actually work with MES on the boat to do enforcement on the water. And Tim's also, he's on the regional SWAT team, our Law Enforcement Council SWAT team. He's also trained on the water. He's SWAT trained. So it's, again, expanding the services that we're offering to you folks and really getting a lot out of our talented staff. They all do such a wonderful job.
I'm Detective Steve Senior. No, the Senior Center was not named after me, but I do tell my friends from college that. I'm one of 2 school resource officers. It's my second year. I've been on the force for 10 years. Currently, I'm at Lawrence Junior High, and pretty much every day is different, but what I try to do the same thing every day is be a positive role model, whether that's joining in on recess and throwing footballs to the kids, or hopping in chemistry class and learning about chemicals and molecular bonding. That was a joke. Outside of being a school resource officer, I coach the varsity baseball team, and I also coach my daughter's 8th grade travel basketball team. So I got 8th grade girls and senior boys, so I got, everything in between. That's pretty much it. Pass it over to Andy. Pass it over to my friend here.
Detective Andrew Lowen. I've been on for 20 years. Been a detective for 15 of those years. I used to do mainly sexual assaults, but I moved away from that recently due to some health-related issues. So now I just do general detectives. Help out whenever I can. I think I'm in about, next month I'll be the oldest one in there, the longest tenured one in there, which is unfortunate for me. I started off as on midnight shift. I was a school resource officer, a court prosecutor, and then just became detective after so many years. Got a couple of cases going right now. I just completed a murder trial. I have another murder trial in January. So just all around busy. And like I said, we help out whenever. We help each other out daily with, like Tim said, another set of eyes on any one case. Usually officers separate opinions, so we all work well together, which is always good.
And they do a great job. So what they also do is they do background investigations for our communication department. We're hiring some people in IT. We'll do the background investigations for those folks, and that's in their purview as well. So it's not just investigating criminal cases. They do a lot of things outside of that, for the entire town. Very, very proud of all of them. So do you have any specific questions for them while we're here? Because I'll tell you, I don't want to frighten anyone, but we are very, very busy, and it's through their hard work that a lot of these cases get solved. Whether it's a residential breaking and entering that we dealt with yesterday, I believe it was an in progress, and they actually caught the person, patrol division, but they'll do all the follow-ups on those cases.
I was glad to hear about the connection with the high school or with the schools, but I wonder, these programs are so interesting. I wonder if you take programs to the schools on different subjects that would be relevant to that age group, whether it be drugs or trafficking or what. Do you do something like this? I know you do individually.
You can talk about James Cummings.
So we do have a after-school, there's a junior police academy at the Morse Pond School, which is all age specific. Stephen will talk to classes at the Lawrence School about different subject matter pertaining to that age group. Emily Levens, who's not here, who's at the high school, she will also she'll go into like the criminology class or the law and U class and speak to stuff that's particular to high school age kids. So we are reaching out. We do school drills with the elementary schools, and we'll spend a little time in those classes and just tell them, hey, you did a great job. And, they're a little scared at the time. There's mixed feelings about, the school drills at a young age, but we really do try to handle it with a soft touch and leave the school with them feeling reassured that we'll be there, if there's trouble. So it's good.
And when I took over, we had one school resource officer, that was Tim Brandt, and he would go back to patrol in the summer. And I made a commitment to the superintendent that when we started hiring, in fact, we have 3 people that started the police academy today. So I technically right now have no open positions and still need to add bodies to the department. But I made a commitment that we would assign 2 during the school year, and we did that. There are 2 SROs, and now with some of the issues that we're having, there's talks about you would have to add a body to the department, but having a 3rd school resource officer to handle all the elementary schools. So one person wouldn't be assigned to one school, but we'd have one person going to the 4 different schools, and then we'd have Detective Senior would be to the junior high and the middle school kids. So there is talks to add some personnel to the department to enhance what we're doing with the kids.
Hi. First of all, thank you for your services. As far as law enforcement on the seas, what kind of law enforcement do you do, and is it year-round?
I missed the first part.
Out on the boat.
So we ride around with MES, Deputy Director Martinson usually. We kind of follow his lead. We'll stop boats for failing to navigate properly, if they don't have the correct markings on their boat, if it's not registered. We'll basically pull them over on the water and we'll educate them on what they need to do to be like on the proper waterways. We usually go out on the weekends, and we're going to do more next year. Then we're going to start getting into more of the shell fishing and all that kind of stuff, checking tags and all that. But it's still in the infancy program. We're still kind of figuring everything out, but it's more like boating stuff right now.
Hi, thank you for all these programs. This has really been interesting to see the variety of work that you do at the department. It's pretty interesting. One question is what NES is. I'm not familiar with that. But the other question is regarding human trafficking, if there are some things that we could keep an eye out for and let you know that we're seeing and what those might be.
So as far as the human trafficking stuff goes, anytime you see a real young girl maybe working, and it was last summer or the summer before, there's somebody who came into the station. I just happened to be working the desk that day. And there was a girl that was working at a clothing store on Main Street, and this woman had observed behavior between her and I'm assuming he was the owner or the manager at the time, and just the way that he was handling her and just her body language, just very kind of timid and, cowardice, so to speak. Anything in terms of, when you see any kids that are, have like flashy shoes or merchandise or whatnot, you know that they don't, you know, if you know the family or whatnot, you know they don't come from much. Kids that are getting new things every day, stuff like that in terms of children. Unfortunately, a lot of times human trafficking comes along with drugs. So a lot of times if, you know, unfortunately, people will sell themselves for drugs and for money. And a lot of times, if you see, a lot of times we get called for like domestics and stuff, people that are, just don't seem right, either Cumberland Farms or on the road, people see other people arguing or whatnot, and a lot of times that kind of thing will open the doors to human trafficking. We just recently had a case, she moved, so we didn't get to follow up with it. There was a woman who was staying at a house, and all day long, she had people coming in and out of the house for days and days and days and days on end. Unfortunately, before we were able to do anything about it, she ended up moving, which thankfully for her neighbors, they didn't have to deal with that anymore. But stuff like that, like I said, a lot of times the drugs go hand in hand with the human trafficking, so.
Like Detective Andre said, you see people coming and going constantly. We had a homeless encampment in town, probably about 10, 15 different tents, and people were noticing that, you know, high-end cars were showing up, men with suits walking into the woods. So, you know, basically, you know, sex trafficking. So these are things that you notice that, hey, that doesn't look right. Some guy just pulled up in a Mercedes wearing a three-piece suit walking into the woods. What's going on? So, but.
If I can jump on that for one quick second, so like Chief was just saying and Megan was saying, it's very rare, probably we've never gotten a call where somebody calls and says, hey, they're human trafficking down around the corner on Main Street there, can you go check on that? Almost everything that we get involved in, quite a bit of the stuff that we get involved in, is some other weird circumstances going on. It gets people's attention and alerts them to something's not right, and they make the phone call and we go out there to investigate. We may think it's something small, but show up and find out that it's part of some vast network or some you know, nefarious thing that's going on, and it gets the ball rolling, it gets us involved to where we can start looking into it more and turn it into something that it needs to be.
And just for your question, MES is Marine Environmental Services. They're so right over at the harbor. Yep. Yep.
Just one more thing in terms of the human trafficking. Andy had a really good case from a massage parlor that he did, and did you get a conviction or? Yeah. It was a pretty crazy case, but just something like that, like, you know, women working in the massage parlor and they're working for, you know, either sex or whatnot, so.
Right here in little old Falmouth, so it
Yeah.
happens here too.
Walter McLean, thank you for your service. You've done a good job of staying undercover. I've never seen any of you people before. I was wondering how much you get involved in white-collar crime, you know, extortion and people absconding with money and things like that. And if you get into that, how do you get notified that there is a white-collar crime? How do you find out about it?
Well, a lot of times the victim will come forward and report something to the police station, to the department, and we do have one of our detectives who specializes in like white collar / computer crime. It's a lot of red tape and a lot of a lot of hassle to get in one of those investigations. You're dealing with a lot of times you know, either banks or private companies. You're dealing with subpoenas, and it's really hard to chase down. A lot of times the actors are from out of the country who are extorting money or you know, in people's bank accounts, they got access to them. One of the most recent scams we have seen is the Bitcoin scam, where they're getting people on the phone and getting them to actually get money out and go put it into a Bitcoin machine at Cumberland Farms or wherever the Bitcoin machines are. So no reputable business is ever going to ask you to withdraw money from your account and go to the store and put it into a machine. So pass the word along to all your friends. It just doesn't happen. You do not do that. No personal information goes out to somebody over the phone. Just like, you know, people were losing $30, $40, $50, $60,000 to these nefarious people. And they are very convincing on the phone. They'll get you, and they hook people. I had a lady who had the suspects had a car service come to her house, pick up $40,000 because they said her nephew was in trouble. You know, apparently the lawyer called and said, your nephew got in a car accident and he needs money. Somebody got on the phone, a real scratchy voice got on the phone, and she thought it was her nephew. An Uber came, picked up the $40,000 and brought it to New Bedford and dropped it off to somebody on the street. That happened here in Falmouth. I mean, and it's happened multiple times. Sometimes it happens, people don't want to come forward because they're embarrassed. But it really is so important just to be careful with your money, be careful with your personal information, and just do not give it out. Because no one is going to ask for that type of stuff over the phone or ask you to go get Apple gift cards and go, and it's garbage. So please do not fall for that. It's wrong, and we've seen so many people get taken advantage of, you know?
Just on that, my father had a saying, he's got a lot of sayings, by the way, but he had one saying that if it sounds too good to be true, it is. You know, if it just sounds too easy and I'm just going to get all this money, just be very, very wary of it. And just to add on to what's already been said, through our community engagement group, we have gone out and we've done talks. We did them specifically with Falmouth Housing. We've done, I think, 2 or 3 with them already. I don't want to speak for the chief or Lieutenant Simoneau, but I do believe that, you know, if you had a specific group that wanted us to sit down with and talk to about going over some specifics on how to, you know, be aware of those type of scams and things you can do to avoid being victim of them before you become a victim of them, we can do that. And once you are a victim of them, to be honest with you, it's really hard to track a lot of it down. Quite a few of the, you know, the perpetrators of these things, you know, we're talking about one that was just somebody had something dropped off in New Bedford, but to be honest, I think the majority of them are probably people from at least out of state, but sometimes out of country, and it's really, really hard to track down. So educating yourselves, us educating you on how to prevent those falling into the trap of falling for one of those scams is probably worthwhile time spent.
So, one more question. I appreciate you talk about making the call to you guys and leaving the word. Now, some of us might be hesitant to do that if we're calling about a neighbor and we might be asked to be public about having made the call. Is that anonymous, or how does that work?
Yes, you can remain anonymous. And about that, a lot of times when we're in neighborhoods or patrols in the neighborhood investigating a crime, we may come knock on your door and ask you questions. And many times, someone will tell us, oh, I heard something at 3 o'clock in the morning, or I saw this at 3 o'clock in the morning. I just didn't want to bother you guys. Bother us, please. One of our old chiefs, if you see something, say something. Otherwise, we're kind of dead in the water. We rely on the public for a lot of information. And again, you can remain anonymous. But it's just the fact that, you know, people are giving this vital information possibly like 12 hours after the incident occurred, when we could have known right away. Don't be afraid to call, please. Whether it, you know, I saw a red car with a loud exhaust leaving my neighborhood at 3 in the morning. That's a great tip. We know what to look out for. But just too many times I've heard over the years, and I've heard it a lot, we didn't want to bother you. Bother us. That's what we're here for.
I concur wholeheartedly. You know, part of my career, I spent probably a dozen years in the Detective Bureau as a supervisor and an investigator, and I can't tell you how many times I didn't want to bother you, how many times I heard that. You know, during the neighborhood canvases, we'll ask, hey, do you have a Ring doorbell camera? You may not even seen anything, but maybe something was caught on your camera, on your front door. So, I mean, these are things that really help us. And like I said, we solve a lot of crimes through you folks on you know, you don't realize what you've seen. That suspicious car that was at the end of the street, and now you had 2 house breaks, you know? So grab a plate number, give us a call, bother us. It's okay. That's why we're here.
Town near the water, have you had many cases of drug people coming in with drugs?
Nonstop. We have a major drug problem. I'm really pleased to report that he doesn't know it yet, but we have 2 floppy-eared dogs coming. I talked about it last month. We're pulling one of the officers out of in-service training tomorrow because the state police are going to provide his dog. It's probably going to be a Labrador that's going to be doing basically explosives. We have another officer that's going to Pennsylvania in a few weeks, and his dog is going to be basically narcotics. And he's going to do friendly finds because this dog can't track suspects, so he'll be able to track kids that are on the spectrum that are lost, people with dementia. It'll be able to do article searches, and it'll be able to detect narcotics. Why did we go with a floppy-eared dog? Pointy-eared dogs, German Shepherds, Malinois, they're a little bit more aggressive, so you can't sniff people. So we have a boat that's bringing a lot of drugs right out of Woods Hole down to the vineyard. So the dog's going to be on the boat. The dog's going to be in crowds. We have major events here, whether it be 4th of July, to detect narcotics. But I came in today, notable call report, drug overdose. We had fights at Gosnold. Narcotics is a major part of what we do in the Detective Bureau and in the Patrol Division. We have our own narcotics unit, made of patrol officers as well. We purchased them an undercover car, and one of the officers that's part of that program is going to Pennsylvania. And I'll be bringing those dogs in probably in the spring because both dogs will be deployed. Again, explosives and firearms. One of the dogs, that's his primary specialty. With all the major events we have, we want to make sure, whether it be 4th of July, whether it be Falmouth Road Race, any of those events, or just in our schools, running these dogs through our local businesses, just making sure, in this day and age, it's sad to say, in the town of Falmouth, it's going to be really great to have these 2 canines being able to service the community in these 2 different areas. And this will be regional programs, so we're not just going to be helping out Falmouth, we're going to help our neighbors too. We're going to work with the state police. We're going to work with the different departments that are on the other side of the bridge when they have issues. There are canines right now that actually can sniff computer equipment and thumb drives and different things. And we probably won't have one here, but we utilize those dogs here when we have a pornography case or we have an issue. I know in Westboro, we had one of our custodians that was a suspect in a case like this, and we put 2 dogs through all the schools because he was a custodian in one of the schools to make sure he didn't put any cameras up, in there. So these are things that we do that aren't necessarily every day, but we're able to help each other out on a regional level, which I think is really important. So I'm excited for this canine program. We haven't had a canine in Falmouth in 25 years. We're going to start with these 2 floppy-eared dogs, and I'm proposing having a patrol dog next year and a comfort dog next year. How are we funding this program? We're funding this program with narcotic money. We seize monies and different things, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to hopefully have more seizures to keep these programs going. But I did ask, for some money in the budget for the canine program. Hopefully that passes through to expand it next year in the future. There's also grants out there through the Stanton Foundation where I can apply for a grant for that patrol dog, and it will fund the program for 3 years. I did it as the chief in Uxbridge. I did it as the chief in Westboro. The vehicle that we purchased for our canine handler in Westboro, that was through Homeland Security. So there's a whole host of things we're doing here in Falmouth, thinking outside the box to try to not have our taxes go up. I know I have some neighbors here today from Fisherman's Cove. I don't want my taxes going up, but they're probably going to with the station, the different things. So we're trying to think outside the box every day when we have these programs to have an enhanced level of service for you folks, specialty assignments for our staff, very mission critical. I don't want these people going to other departments. I want them to stay here. And one of the reasons they want to stay here is specialty assignments, training opportunities, overtime opportunities. It's very important to be competitive in this day and age.
And real chief, about drugs, heroin and fentanyl are still very prominent in town, but cocaine is making a big comeback, specifically crack cocaine. We're seeing a lot more of that, kind of, maybe not as much as the 80s, but we're finding a lot of people with crack cocaine, and we're doing a lot of investigations into crack cocaine. Also, some great drug dealers are starting to put fentanyl in their cocaine. So people are thinking they're just doing good old-fashioned cocaine and overdosing on cocaine when they shouldn't be, because there's fentanyl in there. I've seen that multiple times. So, but again, please put your trust in us. We are out there on a daily, weekly basis going after these people. So, and when we do make a nice little bust, we put it out there for you guys to see. So just, we'll keep doing what we're doing.
And if you go on the town's website, you'll see the department heads, we all submit a report monthly. And I submitted mine this morning. And you'll see that we talk about some of the drug investigations and some of the investigations that are working, missing person cases, you know, different things that happened many, many, many years ago that we're still working on today, this very day. So, you know, you can take a look at that. Obviously, you know, I suggest you follow us on social media. We have a big presence on Facebook, but we also opened up our Instagram account, you know, if you have that. But like I said, just to be informed on the different scams and different things that are going on, even just all the community engagements events. If you have nothing to do Wednesday night, we're doing a Tip-A-Cop event for Special Olympics where we're going to serve you your food. And if you want to make a tip, obviously we want you to still tip the folks down at the restaurant, but obviously if you want to make a donation to Special Olympics, we'll do that. And that's at, where's it, Shipwreck, right? Yeah, we're at Shipwreck Wednesday night. So, and like I said, if you see something, the bottom line is you have to say something. And yeah, narcotics, you name it, we deal with it. I mean, I even think we've seen methamphetamine, right? Has been making a comeback.
Yes.
You know, crystal meth. So very dangerous stuff. Anyone have anything else for us? Yes.
One quick question. When you say call us, like at 3 o'clock in the morning, 911, or do we call a main number?
You can call 911.
Oh, okay. And if you're on a cell phone and you call, I've never called, but I heard you have to say Falmouth.
They'll prompt you on what to do.
All right.
And they'll get you they'll get you to the right person. Yeah.
At 3 o'clock in the morning, you can call the 911.
If you're calling at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's probably for something pretty good. So
Okay.
I trust you.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, you make
Yeah,
it.
there is a non-emergency number. If if you have time, sure, why not? If it's something, but if it's something that's alarming to you, sure, yeah. And I'd be remiss. I want to not get the chance to do this. All of these people sitting to my left are incredible. It makes my job easier to lead them. They all have their little niches, and like we talked about. But when it comes game time, everybody pitches in, everybody does the job, and I couldn't be more proud to be their leader. So just wanted to say that before we ended today. Thanks.
That being said, amen, Lieutenant. He does a phenomenal job. Quick funny story, when I first started here, how the lieutenants were deployed was very confusing to me. And I said, I'm not going to make any changes until after Labor Day. Let's get through the summer. And I remember, he's now Captain DaCosta. He was Lieutenant DaCosta at the time. And he said, do you know where we're going? And I have a very lousy poker face, so big smile on my face, I do. And basically, I explained to them then where he was going. Lieutenant Doyle at the time went to patrol and, you know, administrative functions and different things. So to echo on the words of the good lieutenant, amazing staff. Really is an amazing staff. It's very easy to advocate for them. It's a pleasure being here. Like I said, 2.5 years. I feel like the luckiest person in the world every day that you folks hired me, brought me here. Love coming to work. Love it here. We're doing some really cool things, and we just started. We're just scratching the surface. We've got big plans that we'll be rolling out every month. We'll be back with the good detective senior and his partner to really get into the weeds about the kids. So hopefully I'll see you all next month, and then we will have Bob Muscali for you folks in February to give a presentation and answer any questions. Thank you very much, everybody.